Kathleen Kennedy's dirty laundry at Lucasfilm just might be in public view along with Leslie Headland too, and it's all because Gina Carano's lawsuit has been approved. Today we're going to tell you a new wrinkle that has a major impact on all of this, and it even includes the presidential race. Get ready, folks, for a video you'll find nowhere else. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds simply by telling the truth. What a novel idea. Joining us today is Jonas J. Campbell, investigative reporter for ThatParkPlace.com and host of That Park Place, the YouTube channel. Sir, welcome back.
So good to be here on this bright and shining day.
Indeedly doodly, and with that, let's get to the news, Ali. Sorry, folks, bad there, we know. Continuing, though. Folks, as we dive into this, consider clicking the like button. Jonas, you wrote this article. It's over on ThatParkPlace.com. Folks should be bookmarked to that. Their browser needs you to do so hopefully they will do so. It says, breaking: Disney's motion to dismiss Gina Carano's lawsuit has been denied. Now, denied sounds negative, but this is a very, very positive story. Jonas, let's dive in very quickly, and I'll let you, as the author, explain it to all of us. In court documents obtained by That Park Place, U.S. District Judge Sherilyn Peace Garnett has denied the request by Walt Disney Company to dismiss Gina Carano's lawsuit, with Gina Carano and her lawyers against the Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm's attempt to dismiss her case. According to Judge Garnett, they, Disney, Lucasfilm, and Huckleberry. Jonas, what is Huckleberry?
Huckleberry is the production entity, legal entity that is set up to contain all the costs and liability for this series.
Oh, I see. Have failed to set forth an impenetrable defense under the First Amendment. The court denies defendants' motion. Carano filed her lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company back in February, with suit detailing it is a civil action arising from defendants' wrongful termination of Carano's employment in retaliation for Carano's lawful exercise of her right to speak and express her views. Now, we can read this entire article, but folks, you can go read this entire article. It is a piece of masterpiece, so go check it out. However, I just want to give my thoughts quickly on some of this. A lot of people are weighing in, and I think we have a particular thought here that needs to be expressed that might not be heard anywhere else. And that is, Jonas, that this is actually getting worse for Disney because we believe that Mark Hamill is a part of the Mandalorian movie coming up in 2026. Mark Hamill has become vitriolic in his expression of his political views, such that one could only conclude that he is enormously more damaging to that brand, to Star Wars, to the Mandalorian, etc., than Gina Carano ever could have possibly conceptualized being. Well, and yet Mark Hamill probably staying. Your thoughts on this? Is it getting worse, Jonas, for Disney?
Well, just first of all, point out that Disney's entire argument here is that they don't want to be associated with certain kinds of speech. So Disney is making the case that their artists and their actors have an effect on how they are perceived in the public. So Disney themselves are making the case that Mark Hamill's speech, as abhorrent as it has been over the last few years, is something that they are totally fine being associated with.
Now let's just say too, Jonas, for clarity's sake, Mark Hamill had some very poor taste things that he stated in reaction to the national almost tragedy that happened not this past weekend, but the weekend before. Without going into great specificity, Mark Hamill did not handle that well. He, much like Tenacious D, was doing bad things online. And so Mark Hamill, I think, he kind of destroys this case that Disney has. Is that fair to say that he's actually hurting them in this legal battle against Gina Carano?
Well, absolutely. He's hurting them in public opinion about Star Wars, which should be, at this point, Star Wars should be the most profitable movie franchise or brand or whatever you want to call it when it's at Disney in the world. And of course, it's the only gains that I think they're going to make is if it is a Luke Skywalker that doesn't remind people of the Luke Skywalker that was in The Last Jedi or remind people of Mark Hamill. So if they can remove themselves from that portrayal, then maybe they can have a chance here if Mark Hamill's current face is not associated with it.
So let's talk about potential damage that this could do to Disney. Jonas, if you could, walk us through why this is such a damning situation for the House of Mouse in terms of exposure, in terms of discovery, and in terms of making the dirty laundry of Lucasfilm available to the public? What do you see going forward?
Well, the question is whether or not Gina Carano is going to settle. Of course, that's something that we've covered on That Park Place. And Valiant Renegade had a chance to actually ask Gina that to her face in front of a Comic-Con panel. He had also had a moment to meet her earlier that day, and he asked her whether or not she would settle. And that is the only thing that would stop this case from going to discovery.
Jonas, don't leave the audience hanging. That's a mystery we must solve. What was Gina's response?
Well, I'm going to say it was a well-articulated and nuanced response. But going back to that quote that we often get from, we often cite from Gina is, don't try to destroy my life with lies when yours can be destroyed with the truth. I think, I'm not saying that settlement is completely off the table, but she did say that she is prepared to go all the way on this court battle here. And I think that there are a lot of people, Elon Musk included, that would like to see this go all the way. So she would never answer fully whether or not that she would settle, but she would also never articulate fully whether or not there is no chance here.
Right, and we would never recommend that she reveal her cards. That's crazy.
Right,
everybody at this table is playing poker.
But I will say that you can go and see the first of all, there's an article by John Trent on That Park Place. There's a video on the That Park Place channel going over this, as well as some additional information that was not in Valiant Renegade's video. And also Valiant Renegade does have a video with Gina on his channel. So this is one of those few instances where I'm going to say, go and listen yourself to what she says. And I think you can figure out for yourself how she feels about this entire situation. I personally am rooting for her to go all the way with this, because we want discovery, because this is a company that has had too much of a protection in stretching the truth, or even the small things like whether or not their movies are successful. They say, well, it's the biggest animated release that came out on a Tuesday on Disney Plus after it also premiered on the Hulu, starring a tan person with at least this percentage of melanin on their skin that identifies as a unicorn on a Friday and a Tuesday at the same time. These are the kind of things that even on the small things, they try to stretch the truth. And this is a big thing. So if you can all just go with me here on this idea that Disney has so much to hide, and Lucasfilm has been a closed box outside of Disney's system, but still under the protection of that same propaganda machine. And I'm not saying media machine, I'm saying propaganda machine here for Lucasfilm.
So some of the things that we have heard, of course, it's an allegation in this lawsuit, is that Leslie Headland, the showrunner, director, writer, everything in between for The Acolyte, and oh, by the way, she's the former personal assistant to Harvey Weinstein while he was doing the things that he was doing, that she was financially involved in trying to take down Gina. That would be interesting to get discovery into, to find out what was going on there. Of course, we have always wondered why it was that Lucasfilm anonymously, via some unknown individual, was lambasting Gina on the way out the door. And we wonder, was Kathleen Kennedy involved in this, and to what degree? And so it would be very interesting to get those sorts of emails. There's a laundry list of items that Lucasfilm and Disney would be very hesitant to allow to go out into the public, and yet that is exactly what may happen. Now, Jonas, I want to throw you a major wrinkle to all of this, and this is a huge part of it that, again, I don't think anyone else is covering yet. And that is, Jonas, that there is going to be immense pressure in the future put upon the judicial system in California to not let this get out. Whether that's successful or not, I cannot say. But this is the wrinkle that's on the way. The Walt Disney Company has someone who is over all of their TV and basically their small screen productions. And that woman's name is Dana Walden. Dana Walden is seen as the highest placed candidate and most likely candidate at this point to become the next CEO of the Walt Disney Company. Dana Walden is also very, very good friends with a long-going history with the current presumptive nominee for the Democrat Party, Kamala Harris. Now, this is where things get odd, Jonas, and nobody is covering this yet. But were Kamala Harris to win and defeat Donald Trump and become the president of the United States, Kamala Harris was the district attorney, well, not the district attorney, excuse me, the attorney general of California. Kamala Harris has many connections, and Dana Walden might be interested. I don't know if this will have an impact or not, but Dana Walden would be very interested, I think, in keeping much of this quiet and closed down and finding a way out of this situation. It could be very bad for Lucasfilm. If Dana Walden has connections potentially to the next president of the United States, and if that comes to fruition, you could see an executive branch of the United States that would be apt to protect the House of Mouse in drastic ways that do not match whatsoever with how things will go if the other side wins. And so this Gina Carano case is just one of several or many situations in which Disney has a huge vested interest in one political party winning this fall versus the other. Does all of that make sense, Jonas?
Yes, of course it does. And the fact that, we just had Knee Pain on the Pro Show, and he talked about the regional specific, we could say
folks, Jonas is not claiming that we had an ache in our legs. You may have to say, for those who didn't watch the interview, who is Knee Pain, Jonas?
Knee Pain is the online name of a former Lucasfilm employee.
There we go.
Yeah. He worked at Lucasfilm for some time, was there when it was relocated from, I think he said Big Rock Ranch. I don't know if that is a code for Skywalker Ranch. Anyways, they moved over to, I want to say, the San Francisco offices. And he was specifically focused on the area itself and the politics of the area, and that people made lots of assumptions about him just because he was a white man with a bald head. Let alone what you would do if you were, how that environment might also translate to a high-powered Hollywood studio. And not to comment too much there, but you can understand how that might even be more concentrated in a situation where people feel like messaging is very important. Now, if the entire organization is being that dog is being wagged by its tail there. I can see how that organization, when they see someone like Gina Carano, who is speaking out against things during a very hot time in American politics, and when I say politics, it was politics that was affecting every citizen of the United States, whether it was a forced medical intervention or whether or not it was being forced to wear stuff on your face. I'm being vague here for YouTube reasons. But and then there was, of course, the mistreatment of people, and it was compared to another time in history, not American history, but European history, where people were taught to hate each other.
Right. Gina was warning against the precursors that lead to division such that violence can become the perceived appropriate response.
Right. And the fact that was a situation in which it was okay to dehumanize the other side, and how that is bad. It was all taken in the worst possible light, despite the fact that I think she treaded pretty carefully in her language, and everyone who was posting the same things but in the other direction completely ignored, completely fine, even some of the same memes posted, and no pushback given whatsoever. So
here's an interesting question for you, Jonas, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
What we watched in Star Wars, we watched tremendous gaslighting, where you were told that if you didn't like a particular movie or a particular show, and this still continues, it's just ineffective now, but you were told that if you did not like those, that you were a horrible person, that you were associated with horrible people, that maybe you were some sort of Russian bot or troll. It was insane. And we stepped away from, you're able to judge for yourself whether a piece of content is good or bad. It now came down to, whatever you say about this product determines who you are to be associated with. And oh, by the way, if you are negative in any way, then you'll be associated with vile people of history. Now that's a bizarre thing, right? And the media would go along with this too, by the way. So, for example, The Acolyte has no viewership. And yet you would see the media playing as if this was a grand hit, a true winner, and, besmirching anybody who dared say the opposite. Now, what's fascinating to me, Jonas, is that playbook that came out of Lucasfilm has now largely been adopted by society in terms of the politics of the day. And I think that's where we're headed in the next few months, is a situation where if you don't like something political, then you're going to be associated with some of the worst things in the world. And so I think this is so tremendously interesting to me that we watch this play out. Now it's being played out on a much larger scale. And Gina Carano was all the way ahead of this, saying these things that you're doing lead to terrible things in the future and we should not. And how could you not see that she was right based on the last 2 weeks? It's clear as day now.
If there's only, well, I'm going to keep the political statements to myself, but
please.
But trying to say that the other side is the, as violence is done by one side, and trying to say that the other side is the one that they could do violence if we don't do violence on them, is obviously
that is the perfect way to put that. Yes.
I don't feel very perfect in saying it. I hate having to be vague, but I do believe there's some truth there. Pro. We probably should move on before I say something we shouldn't on this platform.
Well, here's where I would like to land, Jonas, and you give me your thoughts on this. It would be very damaging for Disney to have Kathleen Kennedy's emails, her statements that happened behind closed doors put out to the public, and yet they're faced with this very hard situation that Gina may not be interested in settling with them, and Gina may also be very interested in how the Mandalorian movie performs, and that might be part of her calculus and what to do with this lawsuit. So this could actually be something that takes place for quite a while. This might not wrap up very quickly. It could, but it might not be something that Disney can sweep under the rug. Your thoughts, Jonas, on how this might impact as we watch the Disney stock slide, how it might weigh into, in the future, an effort by someone such as Elon Musk to come in and get board seats. Do you think this has any kind of psychological or narrative impact on people who want to move this company back to the mainstream middle and the sensible center?
I think I do think that it will have an effect on the stock price if some of the headlines that we're anticipating will come out. If this trial is televised, I can imagine that being an amazing focus of some of our fellow channels.
We will live stream it. We will live stream it daily, Jonas. I don't know which channel will do it. I don't know if it'd be me or that Park Place, but we will live stream a trial live if it happens with Gina Carano and Disney. No doubt.
I was just thinking about that last night, and we need to have a meeting about that, Pro, as soon as we can. But this is something that a lot of people are wanting Disney to turn around, again, because people like the truth. People like to understand what's going on, because when these things start coming out and they have an idea of what's going on. And if someone tries to explain it in a way that is not acceptable, you get these questions about what is going on in the world. Disney has the blessing and the curse of having everyone's attention, even when they're doing an awful job of making content that people want to watch. Disney has their attention, as channels like this and that Park Place. And I'll say Midnight's Edge, a great example of a channel that even when things are not going in the direction that they should, people want to know what is going on. And when the answers don't add up with the story that they're telling, it just breeds even more contemplation about what is going on, even more curiosity. And that curiosity starts to turn into something that maybe is frustration. I'm not going to go too far down this path, but everybody wants to know what in the world happened. People want truth because they feel like they've been lied to for a very long time. So I see an opportunity here for truth to prevail, truth to get out there. And I'm looking forward to it. And I think that will have an effect on the stock price, because if people see the ideological capture of this company, I can't imagine that will be viewed favorably. Also, whether or not some U.S. senators will try to take advantage of the opportunity to say, well, you did this, let's talk about that on Capitol Hill.
Very well said, Jonas. And you were naming some names when it came to YouTube channels doing a great job out there. I want to throw Film Thread in as well. They hosted that tremendously successful Star Wars funeral show, which was done tongue-in-cheek. And they took some criticism for that, took some heat for it. And I think that the only reason they're taking criticism and heat is because of how successful it truly was. Now, folks, you can help this video be truly successful. It requires you to go from being a passive participant to an active participant. So consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, so waste not yours. If you're not yet subscribed to That Park Place, the channel that Jonas is hosting over there, well, you should be. And guess what else? In just a little bit, if you're watching this video at the time of release, That Park Place goes live. Every Thursday at noon, you can catch the crew over at that park place right here on the YouTube. Folks, we have had such a dandy of a good time with you. Thank you for spending your time with us. We appreciate it, and we take it as a great responsibility to bring you the news as honestly as we can every single day. All right, folks, we're on our way. We'll see you soon. In the meantime, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Well, word on the street is the culture war has officially made it to the doorstep of that park place. And I realize Jonas has no one there who loves him. So I thought I should go and protect them.
Yeah, okay. You know, that's not, how you do this, right?
Do what? Fight? Don't worry, Floral. I will not be intimidated by a criminal threat.
Threat? Wilton, don't be ridiculous.
What does it matter to me? I have only one life to lose.
I mean, I totally expected you to die walking into traffic, but,
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Okay, just stop. This is just nonsense. You already have one of the easiest and most effective tools and weapons at your fingertips.
My axe?
No. The truth. Stay smart and ready to tell and share the truth by keeping up to date with WDW Pro, that park place, as well as Valiant Renegade. Don't
And
do...
Jonas? I mean, he does things with Vash, and that's not very reassuring. That's like putting two helpless chipmunks into a piranha pond.
That's neither true nor accurate. Unlike the team from that park place.
Sue me.
Ugh.